What's going on, guys? Tobin here with you. Thanks for checking us on out. Mike McDaniel, Miami Dolphins head coach, went into depth today about Tua Tagovailoa and his concussion. He did confirm that the Dolphins starting quarterback did actually suffer one last week against the Green Bay Packers. And this was a fascinating, revelation from Mike McDaniel, basically saying that he was watching film of the game with Tua, really going into depth about everything that he sees with him. Mike is a film fiend, a film fiend, and just saw inconsistencies in the way that Tua was performing in this game. And I'm sure most of Dolphins fandom right now is aware of that hit that everybody had seen in the second quarter where, Tua has the dump off to Durham Smythe. He gets rolled around and it lands on the back of his head, which is very reminiscent of all three incidents that look like concussions. We know that Tua's had two confirmed. I believe after the review, they said that they couldn't confirm that he had a concussion. It was inconclusive that he had a concussion against the Bills, but they did chalk it up to a back injury. Very much looked like he did suffer some kind of a head injury. But this is pretty crazy because, now the Dolphins are in this situation with Tua where they're going to get a lot of people pissed at them and finger pointing at them and all of that stuff, which I don't think they deserve. I think that this is pretty, it's pretty wild that, rando dude on Twitter who, kind of had some people on Dolphins Twitter buzzing about it. I remember bringing it up during the show about this guy's video, and I was like, do we buy? And to be fair, I do feel lousy, in a job where you got to comment on the game and the guy and the performance, and Tua is just such an overwhelming storyline. And, you don't want to be like the guy who's making excuses for Tua. You're like, really? They didn't spot a concussion? This just dude on Twitter, he found that Tua got slammed on the back of his head, and all of a sudden the numbers line up that he was awful, basically, after this incident. Now, it turns out this dude probably should be hired as the spotter for the NFL because he was apparently, it seems like, spot on. Even though Mike McDaniel didn't say that was the exact incident or the exact hit, he did say that he could tell that the way that Tua was inconsistent from one part of the game to the other, that something had occurred, and that after that they brought Tua in to that morning, and that they basically told him to go see the doctor. Doctor confirmed that he had a concussion. So it's awful, man. It just turns out that for him and all the adversity that Tua had faced already coming into the season, and all the things that he was dealing with just from a football standpoint in the midst of the Dolphins losing streak, wanting to just get this ship right. And for it, this seems like if it was a domino effect to his performance on Christmas, was it's just such a heartbreaker. You're basically feeling like the guy just can't catch a break if that is the case, because he was balling out before the alleged hit that we all think happened. And, to have that go from that to this, and now be in the spot where people are, wrapping up your career and telling you to look out for the best of your health. And, I have such a hard time with that because, I want Tua to take his time and do what he thinks is right by him. And I'm sure he's going to be, again, itching to get on the field because he's a professional athlete. He's a competitor. This is something that he's now gone through 2 football games, seemingly with, pretty bad neurological hits. He got one where he was stretchered off the field. And he knows, I'm sure from his standpoint, is going through a lot, just had a baby, young family, but that's also how he provides too. It's a tough thing where everybody is telling you what's best for your life and what you should do because they're squeamish about seeing you back out there. It's a tough, I'm not saying that it's people are wrong for being overly concerned with Tua, or wrong for telling him not to play football anymore, or even wrong that the Dolphins should not play him again this year. Look, if that is the decision that comes out, I'm fine with it. Obviously, you gotta look out for the best of somebody's health, especially with these vicious hits and This would be now possibly his third. We know his second confirmed concussion of the season. You would think that based on what happened the last time around, he's got to be out at least a couple of weeks, you would think. But now he's also, Mike McDaniel mentioned this about the added pressures that come with something like this, that, it's not just your timetable to come back. It's what is your storyline? What is your timeline? He has to know too, already all the pressure that came into this year and all the proving run that he was doing for people, which was, this year continues. The Dolphins make the playoffs and he's the big reason for it. You're probably talking major extension for this guy, set up for life, all of that stuff. And, he's still got a guaranteed contract and probably will still be okay. But, you're talking about generational life-changing money. And so that is extra weight. That is extra pressure. And then you talk about the idea of, your team is, counting on you and all that stuff. And it's a lot to process. So it's a crazy thing. McDaniel said that it is a private time for Tua to focus on his health. This is a human being. His health is the first and only priority. Mike McDaniel was also asked about the idea about this being somebody that he's very close to, and just gave like the most appropriate response to what he's feeling right now.
To a very close, just off the field for you as a person, as a friend, as a coach to him. What's it like just seeing him have to go through this?
Terrible.
I mean, it's got to be all, because that he's invested a lot in this guy personally to try and mentally get his mind right for all of this season, and to be in the spot right now where this person had to deal with all this other adversity, and durability was a question about Tua coming into the year. But when you think about stuff like that, you think about like the thumb injury, you think about the hip injury, you think about things like that. You don't think about, anybody in this violent ass sport is susceptible to getting their brain hurt. Maybe you would say him more than others because he can get ragdolled and thrown on the back of his head, which seems to be the theme in a lot of these. But this this doesn't go, I feel like, with the durability questions. Is the guy, like all the people are gonna be like, oh, you see, he's porcelain, you can't invest in something like that. Like, come on, man, this is a really unlucky, unfortunate thing that happens with him. And I think the thing that sucks about this is that, like, look, if this was, and you kind of have no reason to believe that it wasn't a reason for why he dipped off so much in this game, where like this guy who was dicing up everything, and you think about maybe if his processing is a little bit fuzzy, his depth perception's a little bit fuzzy from that kind of hit, why he can't see, why he doesn't quite have the accuracy he does when he makes that throw to Tyreek Hill that he always does, why he doesn't see, certain guys break the right way or things like that. Yeah, it's hard not to think. And then, like, you think back to, what we're all feeling about him, just like, I know me. I feel because I'm like, epic choke from Tua. And what an ass I feel like, because it's like, dude, man, maybe this guy was playing with his brain rattled, and his fine point accuracy that he looked like he had for the first half was, in actuality, he was trying to gut through something. Was he keeping it from anybody? I don't know. I mean, was he just, as they say back in the old days, got his bell rung and just thought, I'm going to shake through this. Like, no one's going to notice. I mean, nobody noticed. And that's the other thing that's going to be an interesting piece to this, is that people, once again, are going to be very pissed at the Dolphins organization for not spotting this or hiding this. Again, here's the thing with it. The Dolphins and the NFLPA is coming out and saying they're going to investigate this. The coach found this. Now, maybe this was bumped by, hey, Mike, did you see what's kind of going around Twitter, this hit? What do you think? I can't rule that out. I don't know if he didn't get a bump from that. But you think about how fast the game is rolling. As soon as that play happens, the next play is a turnover. And then don't forget, like, Tua's not on the field from the point that Mostert fumbles the ball to the next time the offense touches the ball, I think it was like 35, 40 minutes of real time, and so is there this long break between offenses? Like, you don't catch up on it that quick. Maybe you don't even think back to, oh yeah, you remember that hit on that little dump off to Smythe? Like, I can see why this stuff why it gets overlooked. And I know that the Dolphins aren't going to get the benefit of the doubt on this, likely because, they've already had the one incident this year against the Bills game, resulting in what happened on Thursday Night Football. But all in all, like, God, you just feel like such a gut punch for Tua. That's the biggest thing here is that, man, this dude cannot catch a break with this season. It feels like, like you feel like you're 3-0, you're rolling, boom, taken off the field. Everybody wants your career over. And then you come back, you ball out with a win streak, you have this rough patch, you got your playoffs on the line this week. All of a sudden, you got this team rolling. It looks like you're on your way to a blowout. You take this other hit that nobody realizes other than dude on Twitter that, hey, Tua might be a little bit messed up. And the guy, by the way, I believe the guy wasn't even like on like watching it on TV. I think he was at the game and then it's like, hey, I noticed that Tua took this hit and then played lousy after it. So to have that go down is just it's just a huge bummer, man. And I don't know what Tua's going to decide. I mean, like it's I definitely would understand if a guy wants to call it a career, a la, certain, we've seen a lot of young guys who have been young quarterbacks in pain and all this stuff. That Andrew Luck comes to mind. It was more of a body pain thing than a concussion thing. But I also understand, like, God, you have already been through so much adversity, and this is what you do, to provide. This is what you do to make a living for your family, and things were going good. It felt like, oh, things were starting to click. You have a future in this league. After asking yourself in the mirror, do I suck? And then saying, like, I do not. Leading in Pro Bowl voting. I'm leading in all these categories. I'm, touchdown INT ratio before this game, passer rating, all the yards per attempt, yards per completion, all these types of things that were that he was just completely killing the game in this year. It's tough. And for the Dolphin fan, it's also I'm sure imagining, like, feeling this like level of curseness. Like, not only did you have this December swoon, but now you don't have your starting quarterback possibly for the rest of the season. It's just awful all around, man. And I know that there's going to be a lot of think pieces and people are going to be, demanding that the Dolphins don't let Tua play and that he should call it a career. And look, I get where all that stuff seems like it's in the right place, but ultimately, like Mike McDaniel said, let this dude get through it day by day. That's added stress. If you're talking about dealing with, head trauma and trying to heal right, thinking about what the future of your career is, or even playing this week against the Patriots, all of that stuff is just added pressure on what's already just an awful, awful situation. And, for him, you just, you do hope that he takes his time and does what's best for him, and that everybody respects it, no matter what it ends up being. If it ends up being that, he doesn't play the rest of the season just to be overcautious, if it's doesn't want to play football anymore, or if it's, hey, I want to be, I feel great, I want to play the Jets. I hope that everybody takes the right precautions and then also respects what the player's decision is after that, because it's a really, really tough thing that he's going through right now. And just crazy. It's a crazy, I don't recall a lot of things like this. Normally this is stuff that's pretty, the thing with the Bills game is, like, we all saw the stumble. So everybody was kind of like, hey, there was an easy call back to it, And then the Bengals game, he got stretchered off the field. So there's no investigation that really needs to happen there. I get people, they put in all these extra protocols and precautions, and the Dolphins, were part of that with the Teddy Bridgewater. The last time Teddy Bridgewater took one hit, boom, took him out. And he never even had the symptoms. They just didn't like the way that he got up. And now you're in this spot where, the coach found it out reviewing film. That's, I don't know what people are supposed to, I know people are going to be pissed at this. I know people are going to be mad at the Dolphins. I mean, the coach is the one that found it. The coach is the one who does have the close relationship. The coach is telling you he feels terrible that he brought this to Tua's attention and told Tua to go to the doctor, and would have been very easy for him to say, nah, he got through it. Just a bad game. He'll be fine by next week. Didn't have to tell anybody. So what are you going to investigate him for? You get mad at Mike McDaniel for being forthcoming with his player and telling his player to go to the doctor? That seems wild. But no doubt people are going to be mad at the Dolphins just because of the team. It's the same team, same players, same injury, and people are going to be after them with pitchforks and outrage pieces, when in reality, the coach could have kept it quiet, but he's the one who told the player to go to the doctor. So anyway, just awful all around, and you hope that Tua heals fully and does what's best for him.